Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to Zodiac Secrets in Tarot.com. In this episode of the Lady Magnate's Magic Podcast, we're diving deep into Eastern esotericism. Grab your favorite cup of antioxidants, whether it's green tea, coffee, or red wine, and join us for this insightful exploration. Eastern esotericism, a journey through mystical Eastern traditions. Eastern esotericism refers to the hidden, inner side of Asian spiritual traditions, the secret teachings and mystical practices passed down from masters to students. Unlike public religious rituals or dogmas, esoteric practices focus on personal transformation and direct spiritual experience. Imagine a yogi quietly awakening energy through meditation, a monk contemplating a Zen riddle, or a Sufi dervish lost in ecstatic dance. All are tapping into esoteric wisdom. In this journey, we'll explore how Eastern esotericism evolved over time and dive into major mystical traditions including Hindu Tantra, Taoist Inner Alchemy, Vajrayana, Tibetan, Buddhism, Zen Buddhism, and Sufism. Along the way, we'll demystify concepts like kundalini, chakras, inner alchemy, mudras, mantras, koans, non-duality, and the subtle body, and see how these ancient practices influence modern yoga, meditation, martial arts, and holistic healing today. Hindu Tantra, awakening kundalini and the chakras. An 18th century Tantra painting of a yogi, depicting the coiled kundalini serpent, white, at the base of the spine. Above it are symbols of chakras, energy centers, along the spine. Tantra is an esoteric yogic tradition that arose in India around the mid-1st millennium CE as part of both Hinduism and Buddhism. In Hindu Tantra, the human body is seen as a microcosm of the universe, containing hidden energies and centers that can be activated for spiritual growth. A key concept is kundalini, envisioned as a divine feminine energy coiled at the base of the spine, the root chakra. Practitioners aim to awaken kundalini through rituals and yoga practices, causing this energy to rise up through the spinal energy centers, chakras, to the crown of the head, resulting in profound shifts in consciousness. The chakras are understood as subtle energy wheels aligned along the spine, linked by energy channels, and with Macron. Early yogic texts describe 7 main chakras from the base of the spine to the crown, each corresponding to different aspects of consciousness. These chakras are part of a subtle body, skma sarira, an invisible energy body that mirrors the physical body. In Tantra, mantras, sacred syllables, and mudras, symbolic hand gestures, are used alongside meditation and breath work to stimulate these centers. The goal is union of the individual with the divine, often described as realizing the non-dual truth that oneself is part of the universal consciousness. Historically, Tantra was considered secret knowledge. The Tantras, scriptures, even state their teachings must be kept hidden and given only to initiates. Over time, Tantra influenced many Eastern traditions. In Hinduism, it birthed Hatha Yoga and Kundalini Yoga practices. Today, concepts like chakras and kundalini are widely known and practiced. Modern kundalini yoga, for example, draws from tantric techniques of mantra chanting, breath control, prima, and postures to awaken spiritual energy. The very idea of chakras has permeated global wellness culture. It underpins forms of yoga, Ayurvedic healing, Reiki, and even sound bath meditations as a way to boost health and well-being. What was once esoteric is now openly discussed in yoga studios, where people talk about balancing your chakras for better mind-body harmony. Thus, Hindu Tantra's legacy lives on, from serious spiritual lineages in India to the everyday mindfulness and holistic health practices around the world. Taoist Inner Alchemy, Cultivating Qi and Immortality. While Indian mystics explored inner energy through Tantra, ancient China developed its own esoteric tradition within Taoism. Taoist sages observed the flow of life force energy, known as qi in the body and nature. They mapped an intricate network of energy channels, meridians, similar in concept to N with Macrones, but grounded in Chinese medicine and cosmology. Inner alchemy, Neidan, is the Taoist art of refining and transforming one's internal energies for spiritual advancement. In Taoist Inner Alchemy, the human body is likened to a cauldron where subtle energies are blended and purified. Practitioners work with the three treasures: Jing, essence; Qi, breath or vital energy; and Xin, spirit, which correspond to physical vitality, life energy, and consciousness. Through meditation, breath exercises, visualization, dietary discipline, and sometimes sexual energy practices, these energies are gradually refined into higher states. The ultimate goal is often described as forming an immortal spirit body, achieving harmony with the Tao such that one's spiritual essence transcends physical death. This poetic idea of Taoist immortality doesn't mean living forever in the flesh, but attaining an enlightened, deathless state of being in tune with the universe. A classic Taoist method is qigong, which involves gentle movements, controlled breathing, and concentration to circulate qi through the body's meridians. By clearing energy blockages and balancing yin-yang forces, qigong and related arts like Tai Chi promote health and longevity as well as spiritual insight. The practitioner learns to guide the qi within, for instance, leading energy to the lower dantian, an energy center in the abdomen, to build an elixir of vitality. Such practices were often taught in secrecy within Taoist sects or passed from masters to disciples in the mountains of China. Over centuries, Taoist Inner Alchemy became deeply interwoven with traditional Chinese medicine and martial arts. Martial arts like Tai Chi Chuan, originated as moving meditations rooted in these esoteric principles. Even today, millions practice Tai Chi and Qigong daily for wellness, essentially engaging in a mild form of Taoist Inner Alchemy. They're learning to sense and direct their Qi. Techniques of acupuncture and herbal medicine also draw on the esoteric theory of Qi flow in meridians, aiming to restore balance to the subtle energy body. Thus, Taoism's one secret teachings on inner energy have had a profound influence on holistic healing and mind-body exercise worldwide, from acupuncture clinics to community Tai Chi in the park. Vajrayana Buddhism, Tantric paths of Tibetan Buddhism. Buddhism, too, developed its own esoteric dimension, most prominently in Vajrayana Buddhism. Vajrayana, Sanskrit for diamond vehicle or thunderbolt vehicle, is also known as Tantric Buddhism, and it first emerged in India around the mid-first millennium CE, before flourishing in Tibet and the Himalayas. While early Buddhism taught monastic discipline and meditation, Vajrayana introduced a faster, if more complex, path to enlightenment by harnessing ritual and mystical techniques. The Tantras, its secret texts, are written in symbolic language and require initiation by a guru to interpret. Key features of Vajrayana practice include the use of mantras, sacred sounds like Om Mani Padme Hum, mudras, ritual hand gestures, and mandalas, intricate geometric images of the cosmos used as meditation aids. A practitioner might visualize themselves as a Buddha or deity in meditation, effectively transforming their identity to embody enlightened qualities. This esoteric practice is known as deity yoga. Vajrayana also incorporates subtle body anatomy akin to Tantra. Tibetan yogis work with channels, TSA, winds, lung, analogous to prana or qi, and drops, Tigel, within the body. Advanced meditation techniques, such as Tummo, inner heat yoga, involve moving energy through chakras and channels to trigger a spiritual awakening. In fact, scholars note that Indian and Tibetan tantric traditions share the idea of an internal energy physiology of channels and chakras through which mystical energy flows. Under the guidance of a lama, teacher, Vajrayana Buddhists engage in elaborate rites and meditations that are said to accelerate the journey to enlightenment, Theoretically, one can attain Buddhahood in a single lifetime via these powerful methods. Historically, much of this was kept secret from laypeople. Initiates had to undergo empowerments and keep vows, and teachings were encoded in Tibetan monasteries. In Tibetan Buddhism today, which is largely Vajrayana, these esoteric practices remain a living tradition. Monks and nuns study and practice Tantra, and lay practitioners may also learn certain mantra meditations. The influence of Vajrayana can be seen in the rich Tibetan cultural arts, vibrant Thangka paintings of mandalas and deities, sand mandala ceremonies, and the chanting of deep harmonic prayer chants. Since the mid-20th century, Tibetan lamas in exile, like the Dalai Lama, have also taught aspects of Vajrayana to Western students, making what was once hidden more accessible. For example, mindfulness of compassion meditations taught in secular contexts trace back to Tibetan Tonglen practice. However, many advanced teachings are still transmitted in closed settings to committed students. Vajrayana's legacy in modern spirituality is evident in the global interest in Tibetan meditation, the use of mantra chants in yoga classes, and even therapeutic techniques like visualization and guided imagery that mirror its practices. It stands as a prime example of Eastern esotericism, a fusion of philosophy and ritual aimed at an experiential understanding of reality beyond the ordinary. Zen Buddhism, the way of no mind and direct experience. Zen Buddhism, known for its simplicity and directness, might not seem esoteric in the way of secret rituals, yet it is very much about the inner mystical experience. Zen, which developed from Chinese Chan Buddhism and took root in Japan, focuses on stripping away conceptual thinking to realize one's true nature. It is often described as a path of sudden enlightenment, where insight, satori, arises not through complex doctrine but through intuitive understanding. Zen monasteries did have their own kind of esoteric training, transmitted from master to disciple in an almost wordless manner, as the saying goes, a direct transmission outside the scriptures. One hallmark of Zen practice is the koan, a paradoxical riddle or question used as a meditation device. Koans defy logical answers. For example, what is the sound of one hand clapping, and are meant to jolt the student's mind out of ordinary patterns. Grappling with a koan can be baffling. After much frustration, the thinking mind hits a wall and lets go, allowing a flash of insight from a deeper level of consciousness. As one Zen master put it, the koan serves as a surgical tool used to cut into and break through the mind, forcing an opening into the inner regions beyond knowing. In essence, koans and rigorous zazen, seated meditation, are Zen's esoteric technology for realizing non-duality, the experience that there is no separate self and world, only a single, thusness reality. Zen draws on the broader Buddhist concept of non-duality, advaya, but teaches it in a very experiential, no-frills way. In Zen training, monks might also engage in practices like archery, tea ceremony, or calligraphy as forms of meditation and action, learning to act with total presence and spontaneity. The ideal of Mushin, no mind, in Zen, a mind unfettered by ego or thought, became influential far beyond the monastery, including among the samurai warrior class in medieval Japan, who found Zen's emphasis on focus and detachment useful in martial arts. In our times, Zen has profoundly shaped popular understandings of meditation and mindfulness. Many Western seekers in the 20th century learned meditation through Zen lineages. The very term Zen has entered the lexicon as synonymous with peace and present moment awareness. Practices like mindfulness meditation, though rooted also in other Buddhist schools, were strongly influenced by Zen teachers who emphasized just sitting and observing the mind. Even in psychotherapy and wellness circles, Zen stories and koans are occasionally used to illustrate breaking free of mental conditioning. While Zen doesn't have elaborate esoteric rites, its introspective practices and emphasis on personal enlightenment make it a quintessential Eastern mystical path. One that teaches that ultimate wisdom is not in texts or rituals, but in seeing into one's own true nature here and now. Sufism, the mystical path of divine love in Islam. Moving from the Far East to the Middle East, we find Sufism, the mystical branch of Islam, which represents esotericism in an Islamic context. Sufism, Arabic, tasawwuf, is often defined as Islamic mysticism, a spiritual path focused on direct experience of the divine and purification of the heart. Sufis seek an intimate relationship with God beyond formal dogma. Historically, Sufi orders, tariqas, formed around charismatic saints and teachers. These masters initiated disciples through stages of inner development, using techniques like dhikr, remembrance of God, the continuous repetition of sacred phrases or names of God, often chanted in rhythmic unison. The practice of dhikr is meant to transcend ordinary consciousness and keep the practitioner's attention constantly aligned with the divine presence. Along with dhikr, Sufis practice deep meditation, prayer, fasting, and sometimes music and dance. For example, the Mevlevi whirling dervishes who spin in trance to Sufi music. All these methods aim to dissolve the ego and achieve fana, the annihilation of the false self in the love and knowledge of God, leading to baka, abiding in God. In essence, Sufism teaches a kind of non-duality as well. There is nothing but God is a famous Sufi saying, echoing Islam's monotheism in esoteric form. This perspective, called Wadat al-Wujud, unity of being, by some Sufi philosophers, holds that all of creation is a manifestation of the One, and the seeker's goal is to realize that unity in their own soul. Sufi literature and poetry communicate these mystical insights in an accessible way. The poems of Rumi, Hafez, and other Sufi poets are filled with love imagery and union with the beloved, God. Their popularity in the West today hints at how Sufi esotericism has influenced modern spirituality. Indeed, despite periods of opposition by orthodox authorities, Sufism has persisted and even spread its influence beyond the Islamic world. Many people globally are inspired by Sufi teachings of love, tolerance, and the inner path. In the 20th century, figures like Hazrat Inayat Khan brought Sufi practices to Western audiences, teaching techniques of heart concentration and universalist spirituality. Elements of Sufism, such as chanting circles, ecstatic dance, and the use of prayer beads for mantra-like repetition, have parallels in New Age and interfaith spiritual movements. Within the Islamic world, Sufi orders remain active from West Africa to Indonesia, often guarding esoteric teachings within, yet also engaging in charitable and educational work. The whirling dance of Sufi dervishes is now a UNESCO-recognized heritage and performed for thousands, and Rumi has become one of the best-selling poets in the West, ironic for teachings once kept inner. Sufism's emphasis on the inward journey, polishing the heart to reflect the divine, continues to offer a welcoming, heart-centered spiritual perspective that complements the more exoteric practices of religion. Eastern esoteric wisdom in modern life. Although each of these traditions, Hindu Tantra, Taoism, Vajrayana, Zen, and Sufism, arose in different cultures and eras, they share some common threads. All emphasize that visible reality has an invisible dimension, and that through certain practices one can experience a state of unity or higher consciousness, non-duality, beyond the everyday world. These practices were often kept secret in the past, but today their influence is everywhere. In the wellness and personal growth sphere, Eastern meditation and yoga techniques are mainstream. When you attend a yoga class and hear about awakening kundalini or balancing chakras, you are engaging with Hindu tantric concepts. If you practice mindfulness or Zen-style meditation to reduce stress, you are applying distilled techniques from Buddhist mysticism. Martial arts and Tai Chi sessions at the gym incorporate Taoist energy work whether or not the instructors explicitly mention Qi. The idea is built into the art. Even the boom in holistic healing, from acupuncture clinics and Reiki energy healers to sound baths and breathwork classes, draws on frameworks established by these esoteric systems, which view health as a balance of subtle energies in body and mind. Modern spiritual seekers often create an eclectic blend. One might simultaneously burn incense learned from a Zen retreat, repeat a Sanskrit mantra, and read Rumi's poetry for inspiration. This cross-pollination is a hallmark of our era, but it's important to remember that each practice has deep roots in its indigenous Eastern tradition. Appreciating the history and context, for example, that chakras come from Indian texts or that dhikr comes from Islamic devotion, adds richness to our practice. The openness of today has allowed ancient esoteric wisdom to become a shared human heritage. Yet, these traditions still live on in their original contexts too. Monks in Tibetan monasteries, Sufi adepts in Turkish Tekka, ascetics on the Ganges, around the world people continue to apprentice themselves to these time-honored paths. The esoteric knowledge is no longer strictly hidden, but it still requires dedication and sincerity to fully grasp. In a world hungry for meaning, the mystical teachings of the East offer not just exotic concepts, but practical tools for inner transformation and a reminder that, beneath our many cultures and techniques, the spiritual quest unites us in the search for ultimate truth. We truly hope you found this episode helpful and enjoyed listening. Share this with your friends and family so they can begin their transformation too. And if you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, give this video a thumbs up and we'll hear you soon. Thank you for watching.